Hello my friends, we are currently editing my second book, Dying with Regrets. So, today I'm going to be talking about the part of my journey where I actually was challenged to quit my one and only day job of over a decade, and what I actually done in order to take that leap of faith. And I'll also be talking about how you can actually build the confidence of what you need to do to push your limits so you could potentially do it in your life too. So, this chapter is called Taking the Leap. At the end of 2020, I had been made aware of a new and exciting networking app called Clubhouse. I instantly realised how this could be an incredible opportunity to share my message and potentially have a positive impact on a much larger scale. But how could I get an invite? It took me around a month or so of searching and asking various individuals for an invite. And despite the initial failures to do so, I finally managed... So I finally managed... So I put finally twice, 1 second. I finally managed to get one. I had reached out to a guy who I had been networking with and following online called Simon Squibb. But sadly, he didn't have any of his 5 invites left to give me. So I made the decision to search deeper and found out that there was a free Facebook group I could join and ask for an invite there, to which I did, and as a result found the key which I was looking for. My granddad always told me that if you don't ask, then you don't get. So never be afraid to ask the question, because you will never know what the answer may be, and the answer to any unasked question will always be no. Remember, if the why is strong enough, the how will always reveal itself, because if you seek, you shall one day find. I was now in the Clubhouse app, and what an amazing tool it was, bringing numerous like-minded individuals of all calibers together from all across the globe. I dived straight in at the deep end and began to share my story in as many virtual rooms as possible. Not only did I love sharing my personal story, I also thoroughly enjoyed listening to the inspiring stories of others. In my first week of being on the app, I managed to network with several incredible individuals who arranged Zoom calls with me and also invited me to be a guest speaker on their podcasts. February the 19th, 2021, 6 p.m, a Zoom conversation that turbocharged my action plan. An inspiring gentleman who I recently connected with on the app kindly scheduled a Zoom meeting with me on a Friday evening. So that Friday, I rushed right home from work with such excitement to make sure I was back home ready in time for our call. He patiently listened to my words as I told him all about my life journey and about all my future plans. After I had finished speaking, he told me how inspiring I was and how important my message was, and then asked me when I was going to quit my job. I thanked him and nervously replied with, "I'm not sure." As much as I knew that one day I would quit my job, I never put a definite deadline or date on it. I told him how I planned to wait for the whole COVID situation to calm down and then would quit my job to become a full-time globetrotter. He told me straight away how selfish that would be if I did that, and how I had the knowledge and experience to make a huge positive on the world. He told me straight away how selfish that would be, and if I did that, and how I had so much knowledge and experience to make a huge positive impact on the world. He said that COVID was not the only pandemic, and that there was another global pandemic of people taking their lives. He went on to remind me of all the individuals who were also going through the same adversities that I had already suffered from and overcome, and how they needed to hear my story of trauma to triumph, to inspire them to push through their current challenges. He also reminded me of the title of this very book, Dying with Regrets, and after he mentioned this, I knew that if I did not take uncomfortable action there and then, I would eventually take that regret to the grave with me. I knew I had to make the decision in that very moment to do whatever it took to eventually accomplish my mission, but I was so scared. My mission is to use my mess as my message by sharing my story all over the world so that I can have huge positive impact on over 1 billion lives before I die. Because I know what it feels like to be at rock bottom, and I have gained multiple tools and tactics which were needed to help me get back up from that deep, dark place. I took my life from deathbed to sunbed, from depression to progression, and from calamity to crystal clear clarity. I now use my wounds as wisdom to inspire, empower, and guide others to become the very best versions of themselves, so that they too can discover, design, and live their dream life. I'm going to show the world how fragile life really is, and why we should always take uncomfortable action steps to follow our dreams in this one and only precious life that we have all been gifted. I want to be the beacon of light that the world wakes up to. Right, okay, we're going to carry on. Next chapter. Push your limits. You are a product of your environment. Think of it like this. Think of it this way. A goldfish in a fish tank will usually only grow up to the maximum of a few inches in length. However, the ones that have been released or set free and now swim in a much larger, in much larger ponds and rivers are vastly greater in size, because the goldfish will never outgrow its environment, and the same is true for you. So stop shrinking yourself to fit in places you have clearly outgrown. Your comfort zone should actually be called your danger zone, as this is where your dreams go to die. There is no growth without discomfort, but you have the choice of which type of discomfort you want to face in life. You can either live a life that is so uncomfortably comfortable, trapped somewhere where you don't belong, or you can break free from the shell you have outgrown to develop into a much more superior version of yourself. You will endure pain no matter the choice you make. However, the pain of growth is temporary, but the pain of remaining the same is forever. Your anxiety comes from overanalyzing your potential future threats and underestimating your current capabilities to deal with them. But the moment you realise the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of change is the exact moment your actions will overcome your anxieties. Breaking free is uncomfortable, but remaining in a place you've completely outgrown is far more painful. Believe it or not, lobsters have a hard outer shell called an exoskeleton, which protects their soft bodies like armour. However, this shell does not grow along with the lobster. As lobsters grow larger, their bodies become cramped inside its existing shell, which eventually becomes too small for them. To solve this painful problem, lobsters go through a fascinating process called molting. Molting is like a natural way for lobsters to upgrade their armour. During their molting process, the lobster's body produces enzymes that soften the old shell, and once the shell is soft enough, the lobster breaks free from it. This is a very vulnerable time for the lobster because it's temporarily without its hard protective shell. After shedding the old shell, the lobster emerges with a soft and flexible new exoskeleton underneath. This shell is initially soft and allows for the lobster's body to expand, so the lobster quickly absorbs water and nutrients to expand its body and to harden their new shell. To harden its new shell. This process usually happens very quickly because the lobster needs to regain its protection from predators as soon as possible. Molting is crucial for lobsters because it allows them to grow larger, replace damaged or worn out shells, and adapt to changing environmental conditions. Without molting, lobsters would be limited in size by their rigid exoskeletons. Instead, molting enables them to continue growing throughout their lives and maintain a strong protective outer shell. Just like lobsters outgrow their exoskeletons, humans also encounter limitations or patterns that no longer serve us. It's important to recognise when we've outgrown certain people, places, habits, or beliefs that hold us back from reaching our real potential. and depending on the amount of pain we are in, will determine how quick we need to shed our old shells and move on with our lives. Embracing change and adaptability, much like lobsters shedding their shells, allows us to let go of old ways of thinking or behaving that no longer align with our future goals. When lobsters molt, they become super vulnerable without their protective shell. Similarly, personal growth often requires us to step out of our comfort zones and embrace vulnerability. These moments of vulnerability can be catalysts for learning, growth, and personal development. Just as molting signifies renewal and regeneration for lobsters, self-reflection helps us identify areas in our lives that need improvement or renewal. Engaging in self-assessment, seeking feedback, and being open to change are important steps towards personal growth. Molting is a repeated process for lobsters, and personal growth is also an ongoing journey for humans. By adopting a mindset of continuous improvement and embracing changes as a natural part of life, we can continuously shed outdated versions of ourselves and evolve into the best possible individuals we can be. Embracing the lesson from nature, particularly from a process like molting, can guide us in navigating personal growth, overcoming obstacles, and committing to lifelong learning and self-development. I knew deep down, by remaining uncomfortably comfortable in my job and doing the same daily routine, nothing would ever change. I once paused and assessed the top of my career ladder, which was workshop manager, and I was not excited to one day potentially become the manager of a car repairs garage. So what reason did I have to continue? I knew I had a wealth of knowledge stored within the walls of my skull, but what good was it doing sat stagnant in there? During this moment, I felt like a great white shark which had been put in a pond. I knew I was made to tackle great things, but my current environment wasn't designed for me to thrive. I believe if I took the uncomfortable action and applied the knowledge I had within my mind, the power would be used to propel me towards a compelling future of fulfillment, where I could then help others on a much more significant scale. I realised that what got me here would never get me there. Think of it like this: a goal without a start date is just a dream, and dreams never become reality unless we take action. This was my time to eat my own dog food and take massive action. I had to trust that if I took the leap, then the net would appear, and if it didn't, I was in a position where I would soon have to learn how to swim. And then I'll just talk about a speech from Steve Jobs. I'm going to skip over this part. Steve Jobs, very, very inspiring speech, but I'm going to skip that part. For a very long period, I was wishing for a better life and a better future, but not taking any action. This was because fear had taken control of my life. Just remember, a great life doesn't happen by dreams and chance, but by choice and design. So never trade future fulfillment for current comfort, and remember that you can't get to the good stuff without going through the crap first. So many of us know deep down what we should do. However, we keep putting off taking action due to fear. Usually, it's only until an outside source triggers us do we then begin to act. Think of it this way: every day you let slip by without acting on your intentions is another day of your priceless life which you have lost to fear. Practice doesn't make perfect, but practice makes progress and eventually makes permanent. So my friends, we're going to end it there. If you want to get on the waitlist for this book, visit dyingwithregrets.ryannurse.com or send me a DM here and I'll help you out, my friends. Goodbye, speak soon, see you on the next one. Bye bye.